it back on because that doesn't work for me. Every time I've tried that, it didn't work for me.
Mine's working perfect here.
I
so.
wonder why yours is always so different from mine.
Doesn't want to behave.
Are you online, Andrew?
Okay, I'm ready whenever you
Did you
are.
have to
All
restart?
right. Good morning, everyone. If you'll rise and join me in the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to November 7th, Meeker County Board meeting and election day today, so get out and vote and do your civic duty and get your little sticker. With that, we'll call the meeting to order and public comment period, if there's anybody from the public that would like to comment this morning. Don't see anyone, so we'll move on to the November 7th board meeting agenda.
And Mr. Chair, we do have one addition. It's a donation from Central Soda Cooperative and Marge Helsden donation for the drone program.
All right, with that addition.
Move the agenda as amended.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson
Second,
and second by Commissioner Bredesen. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item up is our consent agenda for today. Andrew, would you walk us through those items, please?
Be happy to. We have approval of the October 17th board meeting minutes. Social Services, County and Hospital accounts payable. Acceptance of the $2,500 donation from the Litchfield Rotary Club for the drone program. A $2,750 donation from Center National Bank to the drone program. $1,000 donation from Central Soda Cooperative and a $50 donation from Marge Helsden to the drone program. Approval of a quote from Vertex Unmanned Solutions for the purchase of a drone. And then approval of a lease agreement with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training for their lease space at the Family Services Center. That's the consent agenda.
All right, some nice donations in there for our drone program from the Rotary and Center National Bank and Central Soda and Marge Helsden. Is there any other items or any other questions on the consent agenda?
I just had one question, and this is purely for my own information, Bill. This is a larger drone, and this is just for me. What physical size is a drone?
This one would be about like this. If that makes any sense to you guys, sorry, I was
sure.
out for the demonstration and that, I mean, it's still somewhat light, you know, heavier than your normal little drones and stuff like that. It gets up, it can track, you can lock onto a vehicle and track a vehicle as it moves away. You can hit a home button and it'll hover right around it wherever you put the pin. It has the cameras, the flare, all that stuff for search and rescue type stuff. We did actually have an individual in a car crash that fled. The drone actually, if we would have had it here last week, we would probably have been able to locate the individual. At least in a situation like that, as a car that rolled, you have to do a search to make sure the person wasn't ejected, you know, no matter what, whether they fled or not. This would have helped that out tremendously. So it's gonna be mainly for situations like that.
So I saw it had a camera and a attachment for a speaker.
Yes.
So how much weight can, and I'm all for this, don't misunderstand me, I'm just trying to get this. How much weight can those things move?
This one could only fit maybe not even 2 pounds, I don't think.
Oh, okay,
So those cameras are quite small, but they're very powerful.
okay,
So, yeah.
okay, thank you.
two questions, Bill.
Yep.
Does it have a heat sensor?
This one I think does have thermal imaging.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is one person being trained or is everybody being
No, it
trained?
won't be everybody. I mean, it is quite extensive, the training. We currently have 2 drone operators. One of our new hires is a drone operator.
Okay.
And we're looking at least probably 2 more, if not 3 more. So not everybody, but we would like to have somebody on almost every shift
Yeah,
be, you know,
okay.
trained in it. But like I said, the training's kind of extensive, so.
So if you were in a search and rescue, how long could you actually have it moving before it has to come back and recharge or whatever?
Depends on temperature. So now we're coming up the winter months. January, February can really zap that battery. So probably 20 minutes or so, something like that, even though it does claim like a couple hour runtime, which would be normal, but wind and zaps it even more too, you know? So it all depends on the elements.
Good, thank you.
Nice, thank you.
Anything else on the consent agenda?
And then, of course, a thank you to the donations, Central Soda, Litchfield, and Center National.
And
Yeah.
Marge Helsing.
Yes.
All right,
I would move the consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
all right, I have a motion by Paul
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Bredesen. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carried. Next item up, Mr. Phil Schmalz. How we doing today, Phil?
Not too bad. Good morning, again, I'm Phil Schmalz, Meeker County Public Works Director, and I brought Ed Hoekstra, our maintenance superintendent, with today. Anytime we're dealing with equipment, he is heavily involved, so I thought it'd be good to bring him with and have him get in front of the board.
Morning.
Morning, Ed.
So the first item I have is to consider the purchase of 3 pickup replacements for Public Works. So we haven't replaced pickups for a while. We've got about 20 units in our pickup fleet. And as you know, equipment in general has been tough to come by. Pickups are part of that. So similar to other departments, we're coming to try and catch up a little bit. We had 3 pickup replacements in our proposed 2024 budget. The value of the replacements you'll see in the packet is similar, slightly less than our budgeted amount for 2024. We'd like to get orders in if we can now so that we can get those pickups in use as soon as we can. If you read through like pickup number 2, the unit we're replacing is already gone. It's been gone for a while. And of the 3 pickups, so we quoted from Ford, GMC, and Dodge. Did not get a Dodge quote from a couple of them, but we did on the first one. Ford was our low quote for all 3. For pickup number 2, we would like to consider buying a 2024 Chevrolet 1500 that is currently available versus waiting for the 6 to 10 months that we've been told would otherwise be available. Because we are short pickups, so it would help us quite a bit to be able to get something that we know we can get now.
I see that pickup number 2, though, the previous one was a 1 ton, and now you're going to a half ton. Do you have enough 1 tons that you're just gonna spread them differently?
So, I think the way he has it, it doesn't matter which one was, the 94 is a 1 ton, that was our 3 times ago shop truck, so we just went down to a half ton,
Okay.
so that'll replace that one. And then the 1 ton crew will replace, the second shop truck was also a 1 ton, that will be used on the crew.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a couple smaller half tons to go out to the out shops and be used more of a light duty truck, if that makes sense.
If we don't need the bigger stuff, we try to downsize. Like if you look at pickup number 3, we're trying to get a regular cab pickup because we'll save a little bit of money. We don't need everything to have a crew cab.
And your 1 ton's probably not as good a gas mileage and efficiency wise too.
Yep.
So, okay.
But I also don't wanna be locked in with just a half ton, you know, so I need some of them around.
Yeah.
To do utility stuff.
I'm curious, do you have a preference? Are these vehicles regular gas or are they diesel?
These will all be gas machines.
All 3 of these are gas.
Okay.
I do have, 2 trucks that are on the crew that are diesel pickups right now.
Okay.
Pulling heavier stuff, the skid steers.
Okay.
These will be more or less not pulling heavy stuff. The 1 ton will be used for other smaller things with the crew. It still will be a 1 ton, just in case I needed to pull something heavy.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, move to approve the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-350 crew cab and a Ford F-150 regular cab from Atwater Ford of Atwater for a total not to exceed price of $95,000 before applicable taxes, and a 2024 Chevrolet 1500 Crew Cab from Davis Motors of Litchfield for a not-to-exceed price of $50,000 before applicable taxes.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Olberg. Is there any other questions or discussion? So we got about $3,200 to get the vehicle, if I'm reading that right.
From the not to exceed
On the Chevy, to get the
Oh.
Chevy that's on the lot,
compared to the Ford that we would order.
yes.
Yes.
We got about $3,200.
Ford dealership did just say he's guessing maybe 6 to 10 months, and he has no,
There's uncertainty there.
very, very much so.
All right, that's my only question. Anything else? Otherwise, call the vote. All in favor of purchase of the 3 pickups, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, second item I have for consideration today is to, do final acceptance and payment on our 2023 seal coat contract. So that contract included about 20 miles of Meeker County state aid roads on sections of 21, 23, 28, and 31. There was a map in your packet if you're interested in which sections. The bid came in right around $590,000, and the actual project cost was about $6,000 higher than that. So pretty close. Work was completed successfully, so I recommend approval.
Mr. Chair, I move for final acceptance and payment of the 2023 seal coat contract.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Bredesen on the seal coating.
I will second.
And I have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and the final item I have for consideration is to approve a resolution of support for a local road improvement program, LRIP grant application that we wish to submit. There was a map in the packet, and it shows that the proposed project would extend north of this year's CSA 14 project. So this year we completed from McLeod County up to south end of Darwin, and there's gonna be a Darwin project coming in the near future. And then from Highway 12, or the north end of Darwin, up to Trunk Highway 24 is this proposed project. LRIP funding, if you remember, that's state bond money. They throw money in there once in a while. There's a solicitation this fall. I think it's due in December. So we've got pretty much our whole packet put together, short of the board resolution that we'll include. The funding we're seeking is $1.5 million to supplement our $2.3 million project. The project is in our 5-year plan already, so this would help take a little pressure off of using our state aid funds, free up some resources to address some other needs.
They added some money to LRIP too for next year, didn't they? So we're gonna have a good chance of getting that grant.
I think LRIP has changed a lot in the last few years. So 2 years ago they had a solicitation, and I'm guessing, but the number of applications was probably 5 or 10 times what we had historically. It's become more people know about it. So townships and cities are submitting much more for applications, same with counties. So we have a better chance. There is more funding, but I'll also say there's probably more applications.
Okay.
Do you write these, Phil?
Yep.
You're in charge of writing all of
Together
those.
internally, I do most of the writing, and then I have Michelle in our office put together the maps and some of the resources that go into it, or the visuals.
Nice.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve a resolution of support for the CSA 14 project and LRIP funding grant application.
I have a motion by Commissioner Olberg
Second.
and second by Commissioner Bredesen. Any further discussion on
Just-
the,
Just a question. That intersection, are they changing the angles of that at all, or is there,
Well,
yeah,
no,
Oh,
the
okay.
state, I believe, has a surfacing project running through in 2024. It's either 24 or 25 through Darwin, and my understanding is the configuration will stay the same.
that is a tough one.
They
Cause you
straightened
come
it
up
out.
at such a bad angle.
They straightened it out some with those concrete pork chops, the islands, before my time,
Yep.
but it's still skewed.
Yeah. Okay.
all right. With that, all in favor, please say, resolution. Go.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Olberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Phil, a question for you, Manana Bridge.
Yes,
What, do we have any?
we don't have a
I haven't
final,
asked in a long time.
we
and
don't have a
nobody's
final
asked
plan
me.
set from our consultant yet. Things have been very slow with design, I would say. So I'm planning that to be 2024. I know it was scheduled for 23. 23 is about done.
Yeah.
So 2024 construction.
They haven't asked me yet, but I have a feeling I'm gonna get asked as the season comes to an end, what happened.
We've
there.
been seeing that with our last couple of bridge designs is the consultants are gonna say yes and then have trouble delivering the project. And we can't design bridges internally. We don't have a licensed structural engineer, so we have to rely on consultants in those situations.
Is that when they haven't been able to deliver the plan or is it the product, the actual,
Plan.
the plan is?
Yep, we're still
hold up.
waiting for final design. I've seen preliminary plans of the structure, but then the full plan where they incorporate the structure into the site, that's not complete. I haven't seen a draft of that yet.
Okay,
I had a question. Is there any more talk about the 34 and 12 intersection east of Litchfield?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the last conversation was. Nothing since the funding application we submitted in joint with the city. I don't remember what pot that was, but I haven't heard anything since then.
Because like with these LRIP grants and different things that we hear about, would funds like that be available that we could apply for to help push that through, or?
The LRIP is something we could apply for the CASA portion. I don't believe we could use it on MnDOT's portion, the Highway 12 portion of the project. We thought our chance of success was better on this 14 project. And as far as LRIP, if we submit 3 LRIP applications, I'm pretty confident we may or may not get one, we're not getting 2 or 3. So we're selecting where we think we have the best chance to be successful. And that money, you know, it would free up, if we're successful on 14, that'll free up some state aid funds that we could switch to a potential project on 34.
Okay.
So that's how we're looking at it. I think the city planned to submit an LRIP project for improvements of, is it 260th? That's just north of that intersection, runs east and west through town. Because that's part of the grand scheme of what needs to happen through there. So as far as them submitting LRIP money for that intersection, a little less likely because they want to improve 260th with those funds.
Okay.
And-
That's just such a bad situation out
It is.
there. Every time I go through town, you just about see an accident.
I would love to reconfigure the intersection, but MnDOT's not completely on board,
No.
so
No.
it's difficult at this point.
Well, it's sad. We have to have more fatalities to get something
Oh.
fixed, but that's their criteria.
It's statistics, yep, they have to make that intersection rise above others that they hold in a higher priority level.
what, you have 34 is scheduled for overlay too, is it?
Yep.
Or-
That'll basically be just a surface improvement, it's a really rough road, but structurally it's in good shape. So, we call it micro mill, so they'll mill it to a profile and then throw a 1.5 inch overlay on top of it is the plan. So it should ride nice when we're done.
Yeah, but I've been hauling grain through there and it's, the other day, there was 4th truck in line and we were all driving on the white line and the center line, in the center of the lane because you can't drive in the regular track cause it's about shaky out of the cab.
Yep, I've been receiving calls on that road since I got here. And I have been dragging my feet a little bit just because I was hoping to be part of a grand project that included the intersection at 12, but
Sure.
keep waiting.
No, I knew it was on the schedule or, so, all right, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. And now,
You just staying right on, huh?
Yeah.
all right, we will recess as county board and do I need a motion to do this? Recess as county board and convene as the county ditch authority.
Good morning, Barb Black, County Auditor, and I did solicit Phil, our interim ditch inspector, to be my sidekick. So what we're here for is to discuss the annual inspector's report, the levy worksheet, and then the assessment request. The inspector's report came by taking many of the details that John left when he left us in August and putting them together. Full details of that report are in your board packet. I think, did we have it in the slides? I don't know if there's questions. Phil and I are available for that, but we did not want to run through the traditional annual report that John would have given. At this point, unless there's questions specifically for us on that update. What we put together there, or I put together with John's plan, was what we completed this year, and that's where we're going to be looking for funds to take care of the negatives and the loans, and also projections that we know are in place with contracts that are set for 2024 or beyond. We have not recently solicited any new contracts without the ditch inspector, which we expect to have one on staff in early January. So if there's no questions on that part, I'll move on to the larger spreadsheet that we've provided. I don't know if it was hard for you to follow, but I'll just talk about some of the
Just,
generalities of it.
Before you do, maybe, so a lot of this work was completed before John left.
Many contracts were in place and there was, heavily moving forward on that. There were just a couple of them, I think, that Phil had to approve the final.
Yeah, I'd say there's maybe been 2 or 3 that
Okay.
have had work done since John left. Most of them he pushed to get completed before he was no longer employed.
Okay, so those were all inspected, approved, and proper work was done, and the last 2 you had to,
Yep, just,
Okay.
I can think of only 2 payments.
Two of them, I think, 2 payments that we don't authorize payment until obviously we
Okay.
go out there, and Phil did do a couple of them.
okay. I just wanted to check on that.
Correct.
Andrew, can you put this up on the screen?
Sure.
It's kind of fine print.
Yeah,
It's
I
a little
needed
small.
my magnifying glass at home,
Just wait up a bit then.
None of the work that was done was contested from the standpoint somebody was concerned it wasn't done right, or that you heard nothing from
No,
the folks on the ditch?
no.
Okay.
County 17, maybe Phil could
No.
give us like.
I mean,
That's the
other
only
than,
one.
yeah, other than that, we didn't have, okay.
So this is the document I was talking about, and yes, it's small print and things like that, but it, kind of goes through what we anticipate to happen. We're waiting on culverts to be replaced, we're waiting on situations to turn favorable, like on County 20. And then most of the larger projects that are there, there's 3 of them that are almost 50,000, and that's in our joint ditch files. And again, there's been change in Candy, Ojai as well, and so, the ditch inspector halting this fall, I think, has happened both in Candy a little bit and Meeker. But you're gonna see in the joint ones as we move down there that there's a job on JD 18, which is primarily Meeker County controlled. There's also a larger job on JD 17 and one on JD 1. JD 1 is a Meeker Candy Renville, so that's a larger part, but it's down in the Cosmos Highway 4 area. Those are all projected from the contracts to be work in 24, and that was how it was set up.
Now, did you say Lauren left from Candy High?
Yes, he did. And they received a very experienced candidate from Renville, so
Oh,
they
they did.
borrowed from their neighbors. And so I haven't worked with them yet, but
Because we haven't had a judicial ditch meeting for,
Been a little while.
in a while now.
There's been a little hiccup with Renville losing a key person, with Candy Lee losing one, and with us. I think there's a little hiccup in the system.
Sure.
Not that things won't pick up and get done once we bring our staff on. So the next form is the large spreadsheet that I work with, and I'll just talk about the titles on them a little. We do analyze each account, whether they're in the negative or not. And we do have 221,000 in the entire fund right now. As you see, I've got a number of red ones there. That means that today, or as of October 1st, they were in the red. We did put on there for review some of the larger amounts that were spent, so that as you look at the entire spreadsheet, you're going to be able to tell why levies are put in place or why there's levies being collected. I did also indicate the loan information, so currently we have $430,000 of loan with the revenue fund. keep in mind, 220 of that is still that JD 52, which is going to hang around for a long time. That's a 10-year payment plan. And also incurring quite a bit of interest on that particular one. Some of the others we likely will be able to pay down with the collection of taxes, which will be for November. Because our farm ag land doesn't pay till November, we receive a very small amount in October, but a larger amount in November. So hopefully there's some loan in that particular process.
The vast majority is at 3% too, isn't it?
The vast majority is at 3%. Then we, in the past few years, I think 3 coming up here now, we pre-billed $80,000 to cover the general cost of the inspector to be in place for the year, so that we know that that cost is real, it's going to be realized, and then we come back from the advance bill and correct that, so we write the ship. What I pre-bill, and if the system is enlarged or benefits are taken out, like somebody petitions out, we balance that out. So you see in the first one as an example, where 446 was originally pre-billed, and we write at that ship with giving them a credit for that, but keep back and bill the 451. So it's a process of making fairness there to the systems as they change or fully abandoned, like we had the fully abandoned one this year. Come across to the non-inspector hours. So our inspector is billed out to each system based on the hours of increments of 15 minutes for his entire time. So the 20, 80 hours and full-time individual would be in that position. We bill that out. The non-specific hours, in other words, anything he's doing general in vacation time or training or working in the office overall, there's not a specific system to assign it to. That's where we come with the non-inspector amounts. I took an average of that, looking at 2021 and 22. So in 20, we were in a period of no inspector for a while. We were at about 48% of his time being allocated direct. In 21, we got as high as 69. 22, we were at 68.7, so basically 69, and we dropped down to 59.7 as an average, not having an inspector on since August. And of course, we bill this through the end of September. So now we will have October, November, December again, where the non-inspector hours, there's 0 right now, other than the amount that Phil assigns to the system. So I don't know what that percentage will be, but on average, we're at about 61%. And I know some goals, what we talked was to have that be greater per system, but as you can see, it almost is impossible to manage. So that's the column that we bill out the non-inspector hours, general expenses for the year. Then we come along with the inspector allocation by hours. So each pay period, we plug in what from their payroll system, the system he was working on, and then have a total in the end, how that merits out to each one of the systems in particular. The auditor and mailing fees is a formula that comes on our fee schedule based on the quantity of records in the system. And it's a formula that helps supplement the work that's done in our office. So I have a total expense allocation column. I came to the total cash situation of the system. We realized that on October and November, we will receive settlement from previous year's assessment, and those numbers are showing. We also have deferred assessments beyond 24. In other words, there's 2, 3 years or as many as 7 more on JD 52, so that column is taken into consideration. As we keep going to the right, we did realize some anticipated expenses from our neighboring counties. We try to share larger jobs so that we are blindsided by a large bill and not have the fund to pay that. Put some money toward the repair fund and suggested repairs. Any of the contracts that we know that are coming to, we want to pre-bill them so that we have the funds to pay them when they're complete in 24. Most of this money will come in on prepayment before the end of December, but if they're choosing to put it on their tax statement, we wouldn't receive it till May or October or November, so it's a long time ahead. We're planning almost a year out to fund these. Keep on going. Phil did put together a small spray contract, not knowing exactly if our inspector is going to self-spray or if we're going to be contracting that out. And so I did put some of those numbers in to make an allocation where we know that spraying will likely happen, and it's kind of a hit and miss there. Whoever repairs or suggested for 24, you see some larger numbers there that we have to be accommodating for, and we do have some deferred coming in. So you see that 53, we have some deferred coming out of 28, so we've pre-billed some there to make that happen. Then the total levy for Meeker County is what I'm going to ask you to approve. The cross county is where we percentage out all those judicials, and if it goes toward the bottom a little bit, you'll see that they get filled in down below. So, without question, I'm asking for a $292,000 assessment levy for Meeker County. We will prepare notices, and we are not recommending a change that we mail the notices to everyone who has $100 or more on a system to be prepaid or have an option to prepay. Those under that will go directly to the tax statement. There's a lot of work on those very small amounts. And then to apply a 3% interest if they don't pay in 30 days or haven't paid by the end of December. So anybody who chooses to put it on the tax statement will be paying a 3% interest. If there's any questions on the setup?
Barb, what is that, 292, is that historically, where does that fall?
It's a little less than last year,
That's what I was
but
thinking.
it's right in the area where we've been. We were a little over 300 last year, and we're, 360 or something
That's
like
what
that.
I was thinking, 360.
And so 292 is a little bit on the lower side.
Good, that's good.
And those amounts under 100, we decided a few years, we just
We
add them
just
on.
roll them right to the tax statement, so it's very
We don't
efficient
send
for us.
anything on.
No. We receive a few phone calls regarding that, but the
I
amounts
think we
are
had this
small.
discussion a few years ago.
We did in our office look at it a little bit to see if maybe at some point we should graduate to 150. The cutoff between the two was pretty minimal.
So how, is there big, I mean, is there a lot of smaller amounts?
Yes,
So
awful lot small, $20, $30, and they take so much time when we
That's-
send them out.
150 might be better.
Well, because people call and question this very small amount where we receive in proportion, not the equal calls
I know
of
I've
the
gotten the
large.
phone calls and when it was all said and done, it was like $200. I'm like, oh. Like I thought it was.
And it's purely not to.
And that's
keep-
fine, but,
It's not to
right.
keep them not informed, that's not the idea. The idea is when they roll over to the tax statement, it comes on there, it's very efficient for our office. There's a lot less receiving and tracking and
Right.
marking.
Right.
But on the same token, I've been already called, what do I expect? I wanna pay my expenses, I'm getting my proceeds right now, and so there's a real balance to
Sure.
our landowners.
Thank you.
When would we address that $100 mark?
I think every year we could probably look at it again.
Is that a January?
So that would be
Item?
next year at this time when they come to you,
Oh, okay,
right? It's at levy time that we need to do it. Right now would be the trigger point.
okay.
We do, throw all of the assessments into one large Excel spreadsheet, and if we have landowners that are just under the $100 and cross over two systems, we make sure we bill them. So they're aware, yes, I'm on two systems, 17 and 18, County 17 and 18 is a good example. So that we're not, throwing a really large number over to them that they don't know that's.
So even though you have it at 100, you kind of use your judgment on
Yes.
other things, which makes sense. So if you wanted to raise it a little, you could do that and still.
And that's why we played with a little bit on Friday. They worked on it Saturday, because we here for elections from 9 until 3, so they worked on bills for a while. We played with taking the entire list and summarizing it, not by system, which we normally do, but by taxpayer, just to see what the bottom line for that taxpayer was. And then I came with the recommendation of the quantity of years as well to spread these. There's 5 of them I think I've asked for you to spread over more than 1 year, just for the impact
Sure.
of some taxpayers and others can make the
Sure.
choice to pay it.
Sure.
And that's a procedure that we've used. I've done a fairly extensive procedure setup on this and just been monitoring my procedures to be sure that they're coming in place, just so we have a good track record of how we're doing it.
Is $150 where you'd like to be? Is that a,
I don't think so. I think it's so easy to tell somebody, $100 bill, and I think.
So you're
at this
okay with it the way it is right now?
okay.
Okay.
That's-
We'll analyze it again, as, like I said, it's $100 for quite a while, maybe it's
Right.
we take the big leap and go to 200. You know, maybe that's a suggestion somebody might
So
have
you'll let us know that when you're ready.
when we sort it out and look at.
Did
the-
we, have we changed, we haven't changed it?
We haven't changed
We
it
talked
for
about
few
it.
It's a while.
We've talked about it the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
We used to mail all of them.
I know, I remember that change, that,
Said-
Okay.
But the amount that was between 0 and 100 as a total to the 292, and I forgot that number, I should have wrote it down, is pretty minimal, but it's hard for us to figure that out because if you're on more than one system, we're still
Yeah.
gonna bill you.
Yeah.
When we get all done, we will know what we billed and what we didn't, and I can certainly report that if you'd like, because what
Well, I
we
think
didn't
it's-
bill.
I mean, it's your call, whatever, however, it's your work, so.
But it does help all the way along, it helps with the mailing, it helps with assembly, it helps with the receiving process later, because that needs to be done individually. And then it comes full circle to reconcile it, so I think at this point,
Okay.
maybe what we've done as status quo is probably good.
Well, and yeah, if you can report back later
This is
after
what
you,
the percentages
because
are.
that might help us make a decision on if we
Right.
do make a change,
Right.
then we kinda know what the sweet spot would be to,
Maybe I'll, at the end of December, I'll know what the prepaid was when I come begging for more loans, if I don't have enough prepaid, I'll bring that with.
You don't
Because
have to
we
beg.
Upwards of about 80% participation in prepaid, so it's a really great number to see come in now versus May and November.
sure.
When you're planning for, well, that's why you see my column, I'm planning for a whole year from now to receive, $140,000.
Is that higher than other counties, 80% prepay? I think that sounds high.
I don't know if it is or not, because some counties don't allow prepay, they
Oh,
just,
they don't? Okay,
you have to request to come prepay, they send it straight to the tax statement.
okay.
so I just pulled it up real quick from when we had this discussion 2 years ago, actually. We had people who had a payment under $100 was 701
Right,
parcels. Between 100 and 150 was 59.
so there's a
And
vast
between
difference.
150 and 200 was 41. So there's, it tapers off after
Right.
the first chunk, which is why we decided at the time,
Leave it.
let's leave it. Additionally, that 701 people paid $15,000 of the total assessment. That next group paid $7,300 of the total
So it
assessment.
goes the other
So
way.
that next 59 people paid half of what that first group did.
Yeah.
So they are bigger bills.
Okay.
Good to know.
Well, and I think it's down to those small tokens that everybody receives because they're on the system versus really receiving acreage.
Okay.
And I can do that chart again once we pull that together, just
Yeah.
give it back to you, so you know.
Sounds great. All right. So we are looking for
Looking for a motion?
a 2024 ditch assessment levy.
Mr. Chair, I move to certify the 2024 ditch assessment levy request for $292,388.40. Prepare prepayment notices for amounts in excess of $100 per taxpayer parcel and apply 3% interest after 30 days.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bredesen,
I will second that motion.
and I have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. This is just a regular voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Barb. Thanks, Phil. We will adjourn as County Ditch Authority and reconvene as a county board. And our first item on the list is County Attorney Brandy Schiefelbein and set public hearing regarding cannabis ordinance.
Good morning. Yes, as you can see in the board packet in the RBA, that during the 2023 Minnesota State Legislative Session, they adopted the use of cannabis, legalizing it for persons over the age of 21. And so the law took effect on August 1st, but there was a carve-out within the law that allowed local unit of governments to make a decision on whether or not they wanted to regulate this even further, such as regulating establishments and how that's gonna look. That's not gonna be implemented until around 2025. So we're not in a rush to make a decision on that piece. However, we're really focusing on the use of cannabis within the public, and it's for anyone. So even if you're over 21 and it's legal for you to use cannabis, it would be limiting it to a private place or a future establishment. But since no establishments can be licensed, that's not gonna happen. So essentially, the only place to use cannabis legally is in your own private residence or with permission of someone else. And the direction that we received from the county board in July at the work session was to move forward using MAP, Meeker Area Partners in Prevention, formerly known as LARP, which was focused in Litchfield. Here, this is the entire county. We had a couple meetings through MAP and had discussion. We shared a draft ordinance. We asked the direction that they would like to see the community members and individuals involved in that coalition to see how they would like this drafted. And we had two commissioners who join us on MAP and are part of it. And so that would be Steve Schmidt and Paul Johnson. And so they also were present for these meetings. Andrew attended. We had the mayor of the city of Litchfield present, giving some direction, communicating with his city council. And the schools were also present and really looking for some support here. So after MAP, we came up with an ordinance that was shared. And then in addition to that, we then sent the draft ordinance out to the cities within Meeker County. And we had in attendance the city of Eaton Valley, Litchfield, Dassel, and Watkins. And the feedback from the cities there was that some of the cities were definitely in support of the ordinance as drafted. One of the cities was kind of concerned because they were split between two different counties, and Stearns County was handling it where each city would have to address the ordinance at their level rather than a blanket ordinance using 145A public health exception to do a blanket ordinance across the county. However, speaking with them, it was kind of indicated, and correct me if I'm misstating this, anyone who was present, but they were saying, well, maybe if there was some direction from the county, maybe the city would just treat everything the same. And so there was gonna be future discussion about, well, if the county went this way, maybe we just go across the board and treat the entire city the same.
And I can add, in recent conversations that is, the city of Eden Valley has decided to go with whatever Meeker sets, that's what the whole city will follow.
And based on that meeting, I think the mayor of Litchfield was indicating they would like also to follow what we did.
Right, pretty much everybody. Eden Valley was the only one because of the county line, two different counties. They were kind of waiting to see till the dust settled a little bit from both counties to see what was the best fit.
And I can tell you that Wright County was one of the first counties to adopt the ordinance, and it's very similar to ours as well. So if you move from Meeker to Wright County, you'll be treated similarly.
Which
And this
is
was
an
kind of-
issue, because we have Collinwood Lake. One side of Collinwood is Wright County, the other side of Collinwood is Meeker, so it's, you know, it was good to hear that they were very, very similar to ours, so.
Yes.
This is kind of shaped like the smoking ordinance, the tobacco, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Correct.
Can't do it with so many feet of a place on patios, I read that, all that, bars, same thing.
Yes, and it's under the same statutory authority of the public health exception, where we're really trying to avoid any sort of, I think I put in here that there was exposure to the general public, exposure to children, the normalizing of this behavior of smoking cannabis, and so they can go through, you can use vapes, and so it's really looking at kind of protecting the health and safety of the younger population as well as the general population.
Thank you.
And today's purpose is really just to approve setting a public hearing, and then the public would come in and also give additional input for us to consider. And so this isn't the county board adopting this resolution, it's setting a public hearing to discuss it further and with future contemplation of adopting it.
So you want it set at November 21st.
Now, when you say public hearing, the general public, does that then also include will there be representatives from city councils coming and speaking for city councils?
They may.
Or
It's up to, any member of the public has the opportunity to come and speak at that meeting.
Mr. Chair, move to set a public hearing during the regular meeting on November 21st, 2023 regarding a proposed ordinance regulating the use of cannabis and cannabis-derived products in public places pursuant to Minnesota Statute 145A.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Olberg to set the cannabis public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Thank you, Brandy. County Administrator, Andrew Letson.
Yes, sorry, I'm just making a
And-
note for
and
myself to
as
not
we-
forget to do something.
And as we move into this, establish an appointment of county recorder position. Also, if there's anybody from the public that would like to comment on, or have, comment on it, we are open for public comment on
Yes.
this topic as well.
So I'll give a brief overview and then we'll look see if there's public comment on this. So, under Minnesota statute, county boards have the authority to appoint certain elected officials under certain conditions. Boards may appoint the offices of county auditor, treasurer, or recorder if one of three things occurs. There's a vacancy in the office, the current office holder has notified the board of their intent to not file for office at an upcoming election, or there's a signed contract with the county board and the incumbent which states that they will become appointed and retain tenure, pay, and benefits equal or greater to their length of service. County Recorder Christine Paul has notified the county board of her intent to retire as of December 31st, at which point that office will become vacant. On October 3rd, you voted to accept the resignation and schedule this meeting to consider appointment of the position. So at that direction, we drafted a resolution to make the office of county recorder appointive and published it in the Litchfield Independent Review on October 25th and November 1st. This current and previous county boards have expressed a desire to convert the position to an appointed, and the intent of this is to ensure that individuals with the necessary credentials to perform this work are in this position and are hired. The statute doesn't have any specific requirements for the county recorder position other than the fact that you need to be of 18 years old or older. As the duties of the position have become more complex, it becomes more necessary that we have qualified individuals serving in that role, which is why there's been a pattern of counties across the state transitioning this position to appointive. Additionally, as you're well aware, the county entered into contracts with the current county auditor and county treasurer in early 2022. They're at that point making those positions appointive. We've gone through a significant succession planning process with the county auditor and county recorder's offices in recent years in anticipation of these upcoming retirements. We've developed a plan to improve customer service and efficiency in the offices and eliminate silos that currently occur based on the fact that we have separate management structures by creating a unified management structure. So as you can see, the way that our offices are currently laid out, we have a full-time county recorder and a full-time county auditor as our two managers. The county recorder's office has 1.5 full-time support positions, and then the same exists in the county auditor's office. What we would propose is streamlining that by turning the office into what we would title property records, taxation, and elections. And they would have one manager and 3 property record specialist positions underneath it, each of which would share certain duties. There would be a little bit more crosswork that goes between them while still creating some specialty amongst them for certain functions that are statutorily required, either on the auditor side or the recorder side. If the board is satisfied with this proposal, what we would do is update the job descriptions, verify classifications with the Classification and Compensation Committee, and then come back to you for final approval with the anticipation that we would have this ready to go for January 1st upon the retirement of our recorder. With that, I'm available for any questions that you have.
All right, is there any questions for Andrew? Any questions from the public? All right, hearing none.
I move
Mr.
to-
Chair. Oh, go
I
ahead.
move to approve a resolution establishing the appointment of the county recorder.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ober
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Bredesen. Is there any further discussion or questions?
This is something that the board can decide. It doesn't have to come as a request of the voters. This is something that the board can decide.
Correct. Yep.
At this point,
As I said at the top,
Because
there
of
are
one of
certain
those
reasons
reasons.
why the board is able to do that. Yep.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
and it's been published.
It's been
Yep.
published. Yep.
I mean, we've
Yep.
taken the steps, the criteria to reach this point, if you will.
I think there's very few of these elected positions left
There's a number that are
in
still out there,
rural,
but it
in
is,
rural counties,
yeah,
is there?
the trend has certainly moved towards
Right.
appointing these positions.
All right, any other questions? Otherwise, it's a resolution. I'd ask Corey to take the roll, please.
Commissioner Oberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bredesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. All right, and then, excuse me, we'll move on to, administrator's report.
Okay. Just real quick, update from our bond issuance that we did, I believe maybe at the last meeting. Good news, we received the proceeds this morning. They are in the bank account. They are ours. So, fantastic
Making
news
money
there.
on the money, are you?
What's that?
Are you making money on the money?
Well, we will be. It's been about an hour and a half.
Well, let's
Had
get
it.
on that
So
today.
let's-
Put that on the top of your list.
Banks are open. Go.
I asked that for Commissioner Sheffield.
Yes, of course.
Go.
As a reminder, our offices will be closed on Friday in observance of Veterans Day. And also, if you have not yet completed your open enrollment, please do
Have
so
not.
by Thursday.
You guys.
Even if you don't want to change anything, if you don't know who you are, Cal can let you know.
How about your no before?
And also complete your note.
Training.
I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
That concludes my report.
Wow.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Commissioner reports, updates. Who wants to go first? Paul's got his calendar in his hand. We're gonna go with that.
Look to see.
Just glanced over there and you added up.
He's
You're,
ready.
you're number one.
All right, not much that I have to report. We had a CPT executive meeting, and one of the critical issues coming up right now is the ESST, the new leave for employees, and that getting into a program so our human resources and payroll can. But it appears that of the counties that we furnish HR and payroll to, all have a little bit different way they want it done.
Great.
So, you know, at some point, there's gonna have to be, this is what it is, and hopefully, I see our human resources person, I understand why they want it done the way we want it done. So, we hope to get that written by J1, so that it's a seamless transition into that. Had a Prime West meeting. Just a couple of things, and I'm gonna let, Beth was also there, and she is on the finance, but interest and investment income was $678,000 in the month of September, approximately $423,000 above the monthly average for January through August, and it's due to the accrual for the interest earned on the U.S. Bank sweep. I've mentioned that before. That's where at close of business of the day, U.S. Bank takes all the money out of our accounts and puts them into an interest bearing. They sit in interest bearing overnight, and then on Saturday and Sunday, they're in interest bearing, and that's returned to us in the form of interest income. So pretty significant amount of money from that little sweep. Then the other thing was the total cash balance at the end of September is $153.9 million. It's increased $50 million this year. We've had a good year. The net income for September was a gain of 3.7 million. Year-to-date net income is a gain of 17.3 million. So the company we own is doing very well. And the owner is, we're joint powers with 24 other counties, but doing very well. Then, I was at a meeting yesterday, with, Steve and Andrew and a few of the business leaders in town here, met with, Senator Klobuchar's representative.
Ben Lean.
Ben Lane. And, some really interesting discussions, about housing and the lack thereof and the concerns and daycare. I'll let you guys fill in the blanks on that one then. But it was a good meeting to listen to. It was interesting, about an hour and a half, but, to hear the different things that the school is working against, the different things the banking industry is working against. Then we hear from Laura Graventine and the things that, the roadblocks they're facing, in EDA to get money where it needs to go. So, it was good for the, senator's representative to hear that and take back to the senator. That was it. That's all I got, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks, Paul. Julie, I see a calendar open by you, so
Good. I'm ready.
got your notes out.
Yep, last annual reports were given on the 17th of October. On the Thursday evening of the 19th, I had my Pioneer Land Library meeting in Wilmer. 3 new library assistants were hired, so now the whole system is at full complement of employees. It's been a while since, just like other employers, Pioneer Land was struggling, but now we're thankful for the success of their hiring efforts and very satisfied with qualified candidates, so that was good news. We viewed the 2024 preliminary budget and no major changes with the exception of waiting to see how much of an increase health insurance will cost. Health insurance options for full-time Pioneer Land employees is being researched, and we are anticipating a cost increase. The board reviewed and approved the executive director's evaluation and approved her contract for the next year. And then the head librarian from Appleton gave a very nice PowerPoint presentation which showcased their brand-new library building, which is beautiful. So good for Appleton. On Tuesday, the 24th, we had a work session. Now today it's our regular session, and coming up, Beth and I will have the 3-county public health meeting. Thursday, now of this week, the 9th, that'll be in Hutchinson. That afternoon, the 9th, at 12:30, there's an open house over at Grove Square in Grove City. A tour of the old school building. I read this article and heard some news about it. The old school was remodeled into housing. They, of course, use the gym. They have nice meeting rooms. All are welcome to come and see the possibilities of what can happen with old buildings and how communities can be creative. So I think that sounds like an interesting opportunity. 12:30 now on Thursday at Grove Square. On Wednesday, the 15th, I'll have the local public health meeting. On the 21st, we'll be back here again. And on Tuesday, the 21st, Danny and I will have University of Minnesota Extension meeting at the fairgrounds. And I believe that's my report.
All right, thank you, Julie.
Yep.
Beth?
Hi, so I had supporting hands, I had a personnel meeting, and then yesterday I had the regular joint powers board meeting where we passed a 6% increase across the board for our staff. We're down nurses. There was some discussion about it, however, we haven't done a study for a while and we're looking into doing that, so. Our new director, we discussed a review for her. She's been there a year, doing a good job, I think. Good news is they have a lot of cash on hand. So the county's input share this year is gonna go down again, and I talked to Diana, and I think that's gonna amount to about $5,000 for her budget for next year, which will be nice. I had a Woodland meeting. We had our exec board as well as our joint powers board meeting. The biggest news is, of course, we're working on our budget and detox, which was supposed to be closing on, I believe the end of December is now closed because we had another nurse go on medical leave and there's no way to keep it open, so we're doing it early. And I believe everybody's been informed about that. The only thing I would add to our Prime West that, Paul and I attend is we had, quite a discussion on our marketing campaign. They're now finding that they are gonna have to, since they're in some competition, gonna have to kind of start acting like the rest of the insurance companies probably and do some marketing, so. That was an interesting discussion. They're doing very well financially. We have been working with DHS now that the court case is over to see where we can work together in areas. It's something called karma. Don't ask me what it means because I didn't write it down. Do you know? Don't say unless you do know.
I only know the last three. I can't remember the first.
Okay, so anyway, because of the different county purchasing programs, but, DHS has slowed down a little bit on the discussions, so the jury's still out on where that's gonna go. I also had a shelter meeting, and thank you, Corey. Corey has agreed to start sending out the packets, which makes everybody's life a lot easier, so. The part about the shelter is the donations are down, probably because of everyone's financial condition, and the numbers in the shelter are up all over Minnesota. The shelters are full. A lot of people adopted during COVID or decided they would become breeders, and now they're bringing all the dogs and cats in. So we really need to, any donations, if anyone's looking for a pet, if you could just go on Facebook and share, I always share Hog Creek, I would appreciate that. We have our 50-year celebration coming up. There was a discussion about that. They're gonna be doing some things. I'll let you know. Also on November 16th is Give to the Max Day. And we have a person that is gonna, match up to a few $1,000s, whatever we can do. So if anybody is interested on November 16th, you can either call over there or go to their Facebook link. Have Lori get her Paul's checkbook out. And don't forget to tell her, should I call her, Paul? I'll just call her maybe. And give whatever, any little bit is appreciated because it not only is it gonna be matched, but also we get into some competition to get some extra money. So that is November 16th. We also, there of course also talked about employee raises and we're still looking for a board member if anybody's interested. I had a CHB executive meeting where we again discussed, our budget that we'll be discussing on Thursday, as well as, employee increases and our, next year's budget. And I think that's it. I met with, I had a meeting with Mary Ellen, our interim CEO at the hospital, and she's still getting her feet wet and meeting everybody. And I think, Paul, you met with her last week too, so hopefully we'll be meeting her in the next, if not this month, next month. So that's what I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Beth. Go back in October here, October 18th, and this has been something they've been pestering me for a while, it's a Painesville Park Board, but basically deals with the Cronus Park. And, so I was able to attend one of their meetings. They'd like to, basically, a lot of new faces on their board. There hasn't been a whole lot of discussion since Phil took his position, since the old highway engineer and then, and Brady and Parks. They kinda wanna get together with the three of us, or at least, have everybody meet, have some discussions with our agreements that we do joint county work on the park and the trail and different things like that. Who takes it just to go over what's expected of, Meeker's been, sweeping the trail every spring, because it's on the Meeker side of the road, but just to kind of go over who's responsible for what maintenance, and not that we're setting expectations or have expectations, and then when the day comes and you look at the fine print, the expectations don't match, what's, written down. So kind of a reintroduction, if you will, to the way the park is managed up there on both Stearns. Jeff Bertram was there from Stearns County as well, so, that's something we're gonna work on in the future. Then we had our work session on the 24th, and Grove City Care, had that board meeting on the 30th of October. We had a ribbon cutting for their new, if you would call it, senior or adult exercise equipment park that they've kind of put together through grants that the actual care board has funded, for the city, just outside on the south side of South Grove. And so they had a ribbon cutting with that. MMDC had put some money into that. They had received a grant for that. And then through this relationship and building that, getting that park set up, is where Eric Day kind of became more familiar with South Grove and with the care facility and how they operate in that building. And that's where this open house come up in November, on Thursday on the 9th at 12:30. That's where that spurred from, because he's reaching out to other cities within the region that MMC deals with to see if there's old schools and different things that they can maybe turn into, senior living or senior activity centers, different things like that, just to utilize them buildings and put some purpose into them. So that's coming up on Thursday. Also have EDA on Thursday evening, and then like Paul said, we met with Senator Klobuchar's office and Ben Lean yesterday just to discuss they basically just wanted to hear different issues that we're having out state rurally, and he was out of her Moorhead office, I believe, and just bring those concerns back to the senator. So it was a good discussion, good to get in a room with, we had Meeker Electric and Center Bank and Sparbo, and I'm gonna miss a few in the
School
chamber
district,
and the
city.
school, and
Yep.
so a good overview, or if you will, a good share ideas that way. So, and that is about all I had.
I had one thing.
Absolutely.
Steve and I, in a discussion with Meeker Cooperative, we would like the board to support a letter of thank you to Meeker Cooperative for their tremendous work with Vibrant Internet. They put us ahead of a lot of other counties in their efforts to get it done. And I just thought it would be, Steve and I and Andrew have been to the AMC meetings, and that's all you hear about is these counties that are not where we are. And they said he has put in over 5,000 installations in 4.5 years, which is just tremendous. But if you guys would be willing, we would like to have Andrew craft a letter of thank you to the board of directors of the Meeker Cooperative.
Sure.
And basically, and visiting with Steve there yesterday, just that the board a lot of times is unsure in their decisions, the benefit, and Steve's been in a few meetings that I've been in, and he said, you keep bringing it up every time, that thank you for what you've done, because it is, when I go to MRC meetings, I mean, statewide, everybody's way behind on broadband, and we're kind of sitting there like the Maytag repairman in the back of the room. We're done with that. I mean, so it's still an ongoing issue for years to come in other areas of the state. And he did say yesterday too that there is no other cooperatives have looked at it, but nobody's willing to take the chance. So this board of directors, and probably not so much the current board, I'm sure it's changed in the 5 years or so, but I'm sure there's some there yet. But just to give them some recognition that, hey, you guys did do a good thing, because it was a big undertaking.
It was a great thing.
Yeah, so that's our thought process.
Is Vibrant offered within the city limits of our Meeker County towns?
Oh, sure.
Starting to.
It's actually, they're just finishing up Grove City and Atwater too.
Matter of fact, they're extending up into Painesville because it's been a request. And Candia High County has said,
Well, Atwater is
come
Candy.
on, bring it.
And that's what he said, the Candy Co-op has looked at it, and they said, no, but come on in. He said they don't wanna tackle it, so it's been, I think they're gonna do just fine. And then he said, and he did bring up the point that COVID actually helped them, because, it changed the face of how we do business, and then the dollars there, no, did he say 19 million? Is that the number that I heard yesterday?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
That they received a $19 million grant or federal grant or something like that, so. So we were very fortunate that the board 5, 6, 7 years ago took a chance
Yeah.
on that project, and it's paid dividends.
the lines are theirs. I mean, they maintain them, they put them in, it's, so we know in the future we're gonna have good service.
Or who to call if we don't. So, all right, with that, good, I'm glad you brought that up, thanks, Paul. With that, we'll adjourn the meeting.